The luxurious first-class cabin of the flight from LaGuardia to Seattle was a sanctuary of refinement. Plush leather seats, soft ambient lighting, and the faint aroma of freshly brewed coffee. But for 8-year-old Lucas Wilson, son of billionaire philanthropist Nathan Wilson, this flight would become a battleground against prejudice and a stage for justice. Lucas, dressed in a simple gray hoodie and dark jeans, carried a quiet confidence instilled by his father's teachings. Your character speaks louder than any clothing. Today, he clutched a first-class ticket, a reward from his father for winning a school science fair, where his solar system model had captivated the judges. Beside him stood his nanny of 3 years, Clara, who nervously checked the time on her phone. "Your dad's running a bit late, but he'll definitely make it before takeoff," she assured, adjusting Lucas's backpack. "What did we pack for the flight?" Lucas recited proudly. "My book on space, my sketchbook, my headphones, and those special apple juice pouches that don't spill." This wasn't his first flight, but the first-class ticket made the day extraordinary. They headed to the exclusive first-class lounge, where Lucas's ticket granted them access. Clara's phone suddenly buzzed with an urgent message, her face clouding with worry. "Lucas, my mom's been taken to the hospital after a fall. I need to go to her." Lucas's eyes widened with concern. "Will she be okay?" "I hope so, but I have to be there," Clara replied, torn between duty and family. "Your dad's almost here. Can you manage alone?" Lucas straightened, summoning his most grown-up tone. "I've flown with Dad tons of times. I'll be fine." After a quick call to Nathan confirming he was en route, Clara reluctantly left, leaving Lucas in the lounge with his book on galaxies open on his lap. He read, occasionally glancing at planes taking off through the lounge's massive windows. The lounge staff, recognizing the Wilson name, discreetly checked on him while respecting his space. Then Elizabeth Crowe entered the lounge. As vice president of sales for Elite Escapes, the main competitor to Wilson Global Resorts, Elizabeth was a portrait of ostentatious wealth. Her Dior suit likely cost more than most travelers' annual salaries, and her blonde hair was pulled into a severe style that matched her haughty expression. Her sharp eyes scanned the room, landing on Lucas, the only child in the elite space. Striding to the check-in desk, she spoke loudly, "Is that child really flying first class?" Her tone dripped with disbelief and something darker. The agent glanced at Lucas, who pretended not to hear, burying himself in his book. "Yes, ma'am, he has a valid ticket." Elizabeth's eyebrow arched dramatically. "Seriously? He's what, 7? Who let him in here?" The agent maintained professionalism. "His ticket is in order, ma'am," Elizabeth muttered, loud enough for Lucas to hear. "First class isn't what it used to be. Now anyone can get in." Lucas tensed but kept his eyes on his book, recalling his father's words. Some people carry ugliness in their hearts and project it onto others. When pre-boarding was announced, Elizabeth gathered her belongings with irritated movements. Lucas texted his father, "Boarding now. Where are you?" The reply came quickly, "Traffic's a nightmare. Board and save my seat. I'll make it. Love you, champ." Lucas joined the priority boarding line, finding himself directly behind Elizabeth, who shot him a withering glance. The gate agent smiled warmly. "Welcome aboard, Mr. Wilson. Enjoy your flight." Lucas stepped into the first-class cabin, where the soft lighting and spacious seats felt magical. He settled into seat 4A, a window seat with a view of the wing, carefully stowing his backpack under the seat and opening his book, dreaming of becoming an astrophysicist. Nathan had taught him to cherish such moments, emphasizing that true luxury lies in self-respect and respect for others. The peaceful atmosphere shattered when Elizabeth stopped abruptly beside his row, checking her boarding pass. Her face twisted in disgust as she realized her seat was 4B, next to the child she'd just disparaged. "Excuse me," she snapped, flagging down a flight attendant named Sophia. "There's a mistake with my seat." Sophia approached with a professional smile. "How can I help, ma'am?" Elizabeth lowered her voice, but Lucas could hear every word. "I didn't pay $3,500 to sit next to a child, especially one like him." Her glance at Lucas was loaded with implication. Sophia, accustomed to such situations, replied firmly, "The flight is fully booked. There are no other seats in first class." "What about business class?" Elizabeth pressed, gesturing dismissively at Lucas. "I'd rather sit there." Sophia's tone remained resolute. "We're at capacity. You'd need to deplane and rebook, but you'd miss this flight." With a dramatic sigh, Elizabeth slid into 4B, pressing herself against the armrest as if Lucas might contaminate her. She noisily stowed her bag in the overhead bin, nearly hitting another passenger. Lucas, raised to be polite in all circumstances, gathered his courage. "Hello, Mom." "I'm Lucas," he said, extending his hand. Elizabeth stared at his outstretched hand with such contempt that several passengers exchanged uneasy glances. "Listen," she snapped. "You don't belong in first class. People like you should stay in the back." The words hit like a slap. Lucas slowly withdrew his hand, his face flickering with hurt before reassembling into a mask of dignity. He turned to the window, focusing on the ground crew preparing the plane, though his shoulders tensed. A woman across the aisle frowned, and a man in the row ahead glanced back, but no one spoke up. Elizabeth donned cutting-edge Sony headphones, not yet on the market, and with exaggerated relief created a barrier between herself and Lucas. When Sophia offered pre-flight drinks, she gave Lucas a warm smile. "Apple juice, young gentleman?" Lucas nodded. "Yes, please. Thank you." Elizabeth, without removing her headphones, muttered, "Make sure he doesn't spill. This is Dior." Sophia's smile cooled. "He looks careful. I'm sure it'll be fine." Lucas's phone vibrated with a message. "Running late, but I'll make it. See you soon. Love you." A small smile lifted his lips, knowing his father's presence would make everything right. Nathan Wilson had a way of making any space feel safer. But Elizabeth's hostility grew. She sighed loudly, checked her smartwatch, and radiated discomfort. When the announcement to turn off electronic devices hadn't yet been made, she seized the opportunity, pulling out her phone to call her friend, Lauren. "Lauren, you won't believe who they sat me next to. A black kid. Yes, a kid. Dressed like he's from a thrift store. I booked first class to avoid this kind of thing, and now I'm stuck babysitting. I'll make sure he regrets being here." Lucas shrank in his seat, his shoulders hunching, knees drawing together, arms tucking tightly. A defense mechanism number 8-year-old should master. A flight attendant named Daniel noticed the one-sided conversation and approached. "Ma'am, we'll be closing the cabin door soon. Please switch your phone to airplane mode." Elizabeth waved him off, wrapping up her call. "Lauren, I'll file a complaint. This is outrageous." She turned to Daniel with an exaggerated sigh. "Does your airline really expect paying customers to deal with children on these flights? Can't you move me somewhere else?" Daniel, maintaining professionalism, replied, "The flight is full, as my colleague explained." Then, deliberately, he turned to Lucas with a smile. "Want some cookies, young man? We have special chocolate chip ones. Not on the regular menu." Lucas, momentarily distracted from his discomfort, said, "Yes, please. Thank you." Elizabeth muttered, "Some peace and quiet would be nice." Glaring at Lucas as if he'd been chattering instead of sitting in silent endurance, the captain announced they were third in line for takeoff. The cabin door closed, and Nathan hadn't boarded. Lucas's face fell, but he steadied himself, turning off his phone as instructed. Elizabeth made a show of reclining her seat to the maximum, claiming the shared space aggressively. Daniel returned with the promised cookies, winking. "These are my favorites, usually for long-haul flights." Lucas's quiet "thank you" earned another eye roll from Elizabeth, who ordered champagne to endure this nightmare. For a brief period, an uneasy calm settled over the cabin. Lucas read his book, carefully eating his cookies, ensuring not a single crumb fell on the armrest. Elizabeth alternated between working on her laptop and casting irritated glances at him. 50 minutes into the flight, the captain warned of turbulence, turning on the seatbelt sign. Elizabeth had just left for the restroom, and Lucas, already buckled, continued reading. When she returned, her eyes fell on Lucas's book and the corner of his backpack, which had slightly shifted onto her side during the jolts. Her reaction was wildly disproportionate. She grabbed the book and backpack, shoving them roughly toward Lucas. "Keep your stuff on your side," she barked, loud enough for several rows to hear. The book fell to the floor, its pages creasing. The backpack crumpled against the window. "I'm sorry," Lucas said quietly, retrieving his book, his fingers trembling as he saw the damaged pages. Elizabeth leaned in, her whisper venomous. "Guess your parents didn't teach you manners." Typical. The word typical hung in the air, laden with prejudice. Lucas kept his composure, but the slight shake in his hands betrayed his pain. Passengers remained silent, though their looks grew more judgmental. The seat behind 5A meant for Nathan was empty. Lucas was alone, enduring the escalating hostility of a woman unaware she was being watched. A flight attendant, Lisa, noticed Lucas's glistening eyes but misread the cause, offering a tissue. Elizabeth smirked, believing she'd put the child in his place. Then, the unexpected happened. The cabin door opened, and Nathan Wilson, impeccably dressed in a navy suit despite his rush, stepped aboard, escorted by the lead flight attendant. His presence commanded attention, prompting several passengers to look up. "Thank you for holding the flight, Captain," he said, his deep voice carrying natural authority. Nathan made his way down the aisle, his eyes searching for his son. Spotting Lucas, he relaxed, but his brow furrowed at the boy's hunched posture and evident discomfort. Checking his boarding pass, Nathan realized he was in 5A, directly behind Lucas and the woman beside him. This wasn't the plan. He'd booked adjacent seats, but his delay had led to this reassignment. Nathan settled in, donning headphones and opening his tablet to urgent emails, unaware of the tension brewing inches away. The plane reached cruising altitude, and the seatbelt sign turned off. Flight attendants served drinks. Lucas requested apple juice, Elizabeth a mineral water in a glass, not plastic. Lucas carefully placed his juice pouch on his tray, ensuring it was stable. But turbulence struck suddenly. The pouch tipped, spilling mostly onto Lucas's tray and pants, but a few drops splattered onto Elizabeth's suit jacket sleeve. Lucas grabbed a napkin, his voice urgent with sincerity. "I'm so sorry, ma'am. It was the turbulence. Please, take this." A minor accident, easily forgiven by most. But Elizabeth exploded. "This is a $7,000 jacket," she screamed, silencing the cabin. "Do you have any idea what you've done? People like you don't value anything." The phrase "people like you" was toxic, its racism unmistakable. Lucas, still holding the napkin, trembled, tears welling. "I said I was sorry," he whispered, fighting public humiliation. Then, Elizabeth crossed an unforgivable line. In a burst of rage, she slapped Lucas across the face, the sound echoing like a gunshot. "Maybe that'll teach you," she spat, her voice dripping with righteous indignation. Lucas froze, a single tear tracking down his cheek as a red welt formed. The cabin erupted in gasps. A woman across the aisle covered her mouth in horror. A man ahead stood, unsure what to do. A young woman in 4C, who'd been recording since the outburst, captured the slap. And in 5A, Nathan Wilson slowly removed his headphones, his face a mask of disbelief. Elizabeth, sensing the attention, straightened, justifying herself. "He ruined my jacket." Lucas sat silently, hand on his cheek, dignity intact. Nathan rose, his movements deliberate, like a predator's. He stepped beside row 4, now visible to both Lucas and Elizabeth. His voice was low, chilling. "How dare you strike my son?" Lucas looked up, relief flooding his features. "Dad," he whispered, the word heavy with emotion. Elizabeth turned, her irritation morphing into horror as she recognized Nathan Wilson. Billionaire, philanthropist, and owner of the resort where she was set to pitch tomorrow. Her face drained of color. "Mr. Wilson, it's a misunderstanding." Nathan knelt, gently turning Lucas's face to examine the welt. His thumb wiped away a tear. "Are you okay, son?" Lucas nodded. "Yes, Dad." Nathan stood, his 6 feet 3 inches frame and athletic build imposing. He fixed Elizabeth with a gaze colder than an Arctic wind. "I heard everything you said to him, that he doesn't belong in first class, that people like him should stay in the back. And then you hit him." Each word landed like a hammer. The woman recording nodded, her video damning. Elizabeth stammered, "I didn't know he was your son." "That shouldn't matter." Nathan cut in. "You assaulted a child." He summoned a flight attendant. "I need the air marshal. This woman struck my son, and I'm pressing charges." Elizabeth's panic surged. "It was just a tap. He damaged my jacket." The chief purser arrived, confirming the air marshal was en route. Witnesses spoke up. "She slapped him after he apologized," said a woman in 3B. "She's been harassing him since boarding," added an older man. The young woman offered her phone. "I have it all on video. I can send it now." Elizabeth paled, realizing her words and actions were recorded. The air marshal, a man in plain clothes, approached. "Ma'am, you're accused of assaulting a minor. You'll be detained upon landing." Elizabeth pleaded, "Mr. Wilson, I have a critical pitch tomorrow. This will destroy my career." Nathan's gaze was unforgiving. "You chose your actions. Now face their consequences." The purser moved Elizabeth to the last row of business class, a public demotion mirroring her earlier remarks about the back. Whispers filled the cabin, phones buzzing as the video spread with the caption, "Woman slaps billionaire's son on flight. Dad's right behind her." Nathan took Elizabeth's former seat beside Lucas, wrapping an arm around him. "I'm proud of you," he said softly. "You showed more class than she could ever buy." Lucas leaned into his father. "Mom used to say dignity can't be taken, only surrendered." Nathan smiled, remembering his late wife. Meanwhile, Elizabeth's phone erupted with notifications. When in-flight Wi-Fi briefly connected, messages flooded in. A text from her boss read, "Video of you hitting a kid is everywhere. You're done." Her career was crumbling at 35,000 feet. As the plane descended into Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, the captain announced, "Remain seated after landing. Law enforcement will board." At the gate, 4 officers waited. "Ms. Crow, come with us," one said. Elizabeth, trembling, gathered her belongings and was escorted out, avoiding passengers' stares. Passing Lucas's row, she paused, perhaps considering a plea, but Nathan's unwavering gaze offered no mercy. Lucas watched, his expression a mix of relief and a faint sadness. Compassion she didn't deserve. Nathan and Lucas deplaned 20 minutes later, met by a swarm of reporters. "Mr. Wilson, will you press charges?" Nathan's statement was brief. "My son was assaulted and racially harassed. We're cooperating with authorities and request privacy." 3 weeks later, the story dominated national discourse. A news anchor reported, "Elizabeth Crow faces charges of assault on a minor with a hate crime enhancement after striking Lucas Wilson, son of Nathan Wilson." Wilson Global Resorts acquired Elite Escapes, Crow's former employer, in a deal accelerated post-incident. Lucas spoke at a Young Scientists Forum, his poise remarkable. "It was scary, but Dad says other people's words are their mirror, not yours. No one can make you feel less because of your skin." The audience gave a standing ovation, the video now at 75 million views. Elizabeth, jobless and disgraced, loaded a rental truck outside her foreclosed home, her future buried under legal bills. That evening, Nathan announced the Wilson Equality Fund at a gala, stating, "True luxury is respect for everyone, regardless of appearance or background." 6 months later, Lucas and Nathan boarded another first-class flight. A flight attendant smiled. "Lucas, apple juice with a lid?" Lucas laughed, the trauma now a memory, not a chain. Gazing at the sky, he knew his place was wherever his dreams took him, while Elizabeth's prejudice had grounded her forever.